start in a tattoo shop?
Yeah, well, I mean, my starting was I think a little bit more ambiguous than your average bear because there was there was nowhere for me to start at the beginning, so I had to create it for myself. Um, so in context, it was I moved to Vancouver from Toronto in 1986. I was 17 years old. There, it was very much tattooing. If you were tattooed, you were undesirable. You're a scumbag, and I love that. I really liked that was you're projecting that image being a tattooed person. I was a punk rocker. I was all up in the punk rock scene, and for me, I was always fascinated by tattoos as a kid, and I had gotten a tattoo uh, in 80 the winter of 86 at a head shop in Ottawa, and I just walked into this head shop. It said tattooing. The guy who did my tattoo was this old Santa Claus looking biker guy, the white beard, leather vest, ponytail, the whole bit. Um, he had "fuck the warden" tattooed in hand poke letters down his forearm, and he tattooed in the back of this smoke shop in Ottawa. I got a little skull and bat wings on my arm, and every 5 minutes someone would interrupt us, and he would go into the back room to do a drug deal. And so my 15-minute tattoo took 45 minutes with all the drug deal interruptions. When he was done, he's like, in his thick Quebecois accent, "That's pretty buzzy." And I'm like, "Yeah, buzzy." And he says, "Okay, so now you have to sign a waiver saying that you're over 18. I'm like, "Well, I'm not. I'm 17." And he physically threw me out of the shop. So that was my introduction to the first tattoo shop I had been into. When I moved to Vancouver, I fell in with the punk rock skateboard scene. That was, where I was at.
It was really big in Vancouver back then.
Yeah, and it was a really big departure from the punk rock scene that I was involved in Toronto. When I was 14, 15, 16 years old in Toronto, I was part of the BFG gang in Kensington Market, the bunch of fucking goofs. No tattooing going on in Toronto at that time. There were 3 tattoo shops in all of Toronto, and one was much worse than the next. And so I was a Toronto punk rocker, leather jacket, studs, mohawk, and I came to Vancouver, and all the punk rock kids there were, Vans, Converse, skateboard shorts, and riding skateboards. And I was, in Toronto, I was riding mountain bikes that looked like they were out of Mad Max, and that was that. So it was a cultural shift, and I fell into this punk rock house as soon as I arrived in Vancouver, and this place called the Hell House, and we had Saturday night acid parties at our house every night, where we had nine of us living in this house, and we'd all drop acid on Saturday nights and hang out and have fun. And as things do, word got around, and more people joined us for our acid dropping parties. And then it got to be like 20, 30 people coming over, everyone rolling on acid. And it was a lot of fun. And we were kids, we were all like 16, 17 years old. We'd all been thrown out of our parents' houses, and living that kind of lifestyle. And
Talk about Hell House and Saturday night acid parties.
Saturday night acid party. So, living in the Hell House, 9 other roommates, dropping acid, all of us every Saturday night, having a great time. And then people started to find out about this, and we drew bigger crowds. And then all of a sudden there was like 20, 30 people all dropping acid at our house on a Saturday night. And one night, a biker was going to come by, and he was going to tattoo all of us during our acid party. And so the fella shows up. He rolls up on his motorcycle, comes in, drinking heavily in our living room, and passes out drunk in the middle of our living room, like laying on the floor, face down, drunk, beer bottles all around him. And so everyone was pissed. They wanted to get tattooed, but the tattoo artist was passed out. So everyone knew that I had been to art school as a kid. I had been in art school from age 10 all the way up until like age 17. So I had taken 7 years of art school, even just as a teenager. And I had a tattoo. So put 2 and 2 together, and I'm the logical guy to do the tattoos, right? Even though this guy's passed out. And so I said, I was like, this is crazy. The guy's going to wake up. He's going to see me tattooing with his tattoo gun, and he's going to beat the shit out of me. And they're like, no, we'll protect you. It's all good. We got your back. And it's like, all right, let's do this. So he had a cookie tin with homemade tattoo guns in it. And I just picked it up. And the first tattoo I did was on this like 6'2" gnarly skinhead named Filthy Phil. And Filthy Phil has like, just tombstones for teeth, gnarly guy, like really bad dude. And he had a tattoo already on his arm of a skinhead punching out a brick wall and then saying like skins on it. And he just wanted me to go over it and refresh it. And that was just going to be my first tattoo. And so I'm doing this tattoo with this homemade like Walkman motor, ink pen, sewing needle contraption. And I'm tattooing him. I'm sweating bullets. I have no idea what I'm doing at all whatsoever. He's yelling at me, "Push harder, you fucking pussy," while I'm tattooing him. And then a couple other guys got in line. I did a couple other tattoos. The biker came to, woke up, and we're ready to fight at that point. And because we're expecting him to make a big fuss out of it. And he's like, "Let me see what you did." And he like grabs all the tattoos that I did, and he's like, "Whoa, it's pretty fucking good, eh?" I'm like, "How you think?" And he's like, "Yeah, tell you what, man, give me a back piece, you can keep my gun." I'm like, "Deal." So next Saturday for our Saturday night acid party, now I'm the official Saturday night acid party tattoo artist, and tattooed the guy. He gave me his cookie tin full of tattoo machines or tattoo stuff, India ink, and just odds and sods.
High on acid.
Yeah, mostly high on acid doing these tattoos. But then the Saturday night acid tattoo parties turned into like Sunday morning tattoo parties, which turned into Monday afternoon tattoo parties. And then I was just suddenly tattooing in the basement of the Hell House, every day of the week. And of course, like really just figuring it out as I went along and just making awful mistakes along the way because I had absolutely no direction. I was flying blind. And my rate of charge was like, I tattooed basically for food, cigarettes, and beer. So a small tattoo would be like a sandwich and a bag of Doritos. A larger tattoo would be like a 6-pack of beer and a pack of smokes, and up from there. But the thing is like that was the environment. That was what tattooing was all about outside of the other world of professional tattooing.
What you talk about not having an average way of getting into tattooing, but I think I don't know if that's so much true. A lot of people that we both know that started tattooing started at home.
Absolutely. Like I had a long conversation with Dave Cummings about this, who I admire greatly in the tattoo community, and he said he approached Tony DiNasta and said, "Hey, will you teach me how to tattoo?" And Tony told him, "Go and buy a tattoo kit out of the back of a tattoo magazine, and come back and see me in a couple of years." And that's what according to the story he told me, that's what he did.
Yeah.
So a lot of us were just forced to that environment because we had no other options while we had the passion for wanting to be a person who tattoos. Really my motivation for tattooing was more about my love of beer and Doritos than it was about tattooing, and it was a means of survival, basic survival for me. I was a dishwasher at a little cafe in Metrotown as a teenager, and then I would tattoo at night. Then I got a job as like a bicycle courier, and then I would tattoo at night. So it was just a way for me to express myself artistically and make a little bit of something else on the side. But I did recognize and I did know that what I was doing was filthy and awful, and I did want to do it right. I wanted to be a professional tattoo artist. So I did go and get tattooed by a lot of the local tattoo artists in Vancouver at the time. I got tattooed by Thomas Lockhart. I got tattooed by Brian Zucks, and I got tattooed by Rico, Brian's coworker at Ace Tattoo. I felt that was the correct way to enter the business, was to go and actually get tattooed by these people and then express my desire to want to learn how to tattoo. In return, no one was interested in hiring me. I was so far outside the outlaw biker community that was controlling tattooing in Canada at the time.
Yeah, yeah. What was the? I'm gonna step back a little bit before we talk about that. Were you seeing like that? Like
Mm.
you're working away, you're in the punk rock scene, you're seeing punk rock tattoos that are.
No, no. I mean, I felt like I was really alone in my scene. I was really alone in my scene for getting professional tattoos. Nobody else in the punk rock scene, from my vantage point, was also going to those shops. It was me. I was very much focused on wanting to get tattooed professionally. And I wanted to tattoo professionally, and nobody else was doing anything. No one else was interested at all. I remember getting tattooed by Brian Zuck, and he pushed a bunch of business cards in my hand. And he's like, yeah, tell your buddies, come get tattooed by me. I want to tattoo you punk rock guys, right? And, nobody was interested. I couldn't give the cards away. So I felt like I was doing something unique and special in my community. But anyways, I asked these guys, I said, look, I really want a tattoo. I want to do this, I want to do it right. And they're, fucking punk rock kid, get out of here, And I got all sorts of manners of like really interesting reasons why I couldn't break into the tattoo community, the professional tattoo community. The city of Vancouver was not giving out any more tattoo licenses, was what I was told. If a shop closes, that's it. There was no more, no new tattoo shops opening up in the city. The city's trying to shut everybody down. Perhaps that was the case at the time, but that was the excuse that I was given to prevent me from, moving any more forward into the tattoo community, the artist community in Vancouver.
Dave Shore controlled the tattoo scene in Vancouver and a good chunk of BC. Found out that's why Paul Jeffries was in Calgary.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the Dutchman was in New West.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Brian was allowed to work wherever he wanted because he'd got into the industry, but no new shops were opening up. They weren't allowing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was the type of resistance that I didn't want to open a shop. I wanted to work at a shop that was already there because I wanted to unlearn all of my mistakes, and I wanted to start all over. I wanted an apprenticeship. I knew what it was all about, and I wanted to enter tattooing properly and stop what I was doing.
How did that happen?
How did that happen? So I couldn't get a job at any tattoo shop in British Columbia, and I actually traveled to. I was prepared to move. I was prepared to move to Victoria. I was prepared to move to the Fraser Valley. I was prepared to move anywhere where there was going to be a professional tattoo artist who was willing to apprentice me. And I visited almost every single tattoo shop in the Greater Vancouver area and the surrounding area in British Columbia, and a couple sympathetic ears, but mostly it was just a non-starter. So I realized that I was going to basically just have to do it myself. Like there was no other choice. And I felt very passionately about tattooing. I wasn't going to give it up. And so I had to create my own opportunities. So my friends wanted to see me progress as well because I had created a core group of customers. So my friends wanted to see me using professional tattoo equipment, which at the time was very difficult to locate. You could buy Spalding and Rogers tattoo equipment out of their catalogs that you would see advertised in some of the biker tattoo magazines. I couldn't afford to buy a whole setup of professional equipment at the time, so that was cost prohibitive for me at the time, because I really wasn't making any money tattooing. Like, it was really still like beer, Doritos, and sandwiches at that point that I was making for my tattoos. So a friend of mine phoned me up on one day and said, look, I have another friend who's in the same position as you, but he wants to get out of tattooing, and he has some professional tattoo equipment that he's willing to sell for $300. And $300 for me was an enormous amount of money, and hard to get access to. And so they said, I'll tell you what, we're gonna all pool our money in together to buy this guy's tattoo equipment, and then you can just tattoo us for the equipment that we bought you in return. And so great deal, fantastic, let's do that. My friend shows up a little while later with a shoebox full of this tattoo equipment, and it was a Spalding and Rogers tattoo machine, still assembled with a needle and tube, and the entire thing was caked in dried blood. Like, the tube was caked in dried blood, the machine was caked in dried blood. It was a horror show. I'm like, what the fuck happened here? So what had happened was this guy had gotten in a fight with one of his customers, and he had taken the tattoo machine and he had repeatedly stabbed his customer in the stomach with the assembled tattoo machine, and got blood all over it. Afterwards, he was horrified about what happened. He went to jail. The big reason why he had to sell all of his tattoo equipment was because he was going to jail. And so I essentially inherited this slight upgrade of scratcher equipment that was covered in blood. So I had to clean it all off, and then I just started. That was my introduction into using professional tattoo equipment.
Horror story. Yeah. That's disgusting.
It's the 80s, but that was tattooing in the 80s. You know what I mean? It was just there's just no access at all to tattoo supplies. Outside of even up in the early 90s when I started actually working in tattoo shops, if you wanted to order tattoo ink, you had to do it by mail order, and you had to send a money order, and it took about 3 months to get your ink, and you had to know your catalog. There weren't catalogs. There wasn't the internet like there is now. There was I had a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy of one page of a catalog. And that was my portal to buying tattoo supplies for the longest time. And it said right on the page, it said, don't wait to order your ink for when you run out. Order it while you still have supplies, because it will take 3 to 4 months for us to get your order to you.
Unreal.
Yeah. I mean, like, Bill Baker has this great story about wanting to get this, this great ink. I don't remember who the ink maker was. He sent the money off. The stuff never came back. He got in his car. He drove to the States, drove to the guy's shop. He's not at the shop. He's at the bar down the street. Drove to the bar down the street, grabbed the guy and said, let's go. You're filling my order. Pulled the guy off his bar stool and said, make me my ink. That was how you accessed tattoo supplies at the time.
It wasn't big companies. It wasn't.
There was Spalding and Rogers, and there was National, and there was. That's all I can think of right now.
But those are the only there weren't. It's not like now where you've got the Icons and the Lucky Supplies and the Good Guys where everything's there. They got it in stock. It ships the next day.
We're living in a totally different consumerist environment now, and there were the fraction of the people tattooing too. The market was minuscule. So, when I started tattooing, I mean, who were the tattooers in Canada that were doing anything of relevance? There was Dave Shore, there was Brian, there was Paul Jeffries, there was, and then, some of the people that worked for them, but you could count the quality renowned tattooers in Canada on, one hand that's missing 2 fingers.